we would focus our energies on the protection of the forest, on educating Kenyans in about the same way that we have educated them to plant trees. We want them to understand that it is very important to protect forest and public land.
A vicious assault on one of the city's last forest reserves. Trees, both indigenous and exotic, are coming down at a tremendous speed. And in only 2 weeks, a vast open space has been created out of the dense rainforest.
The history of Karura forest is a checkered one. Majority of the land surrounding this forest were taken by white settlers at the turn of the century. But this particular area was left. There was a lot of discussions between the leadership of the Kikuyu, the Gikuyu community, to leave Karura alone.
Tego mire wa jiko wa gitau kana nyina wa mbugua ndaciarĩirwo Sereta 1952 na rĩu njikaraga mũji wa Huruma.
Nĩkĩ mĩtĩ gĩcigo-inĩ gĩkĩ ĩkoretwo ĩ mĩnyinyi ũguo andũ arĩa menyitire gũkũ mĩtĩ mambĩrĩirie gũkorwo matemete
mĩtĩ ona tũtieciragia no gũkũre kĩndũ orona kĩmwe nĩ tondũ andũ acio magũrĩte gũkũ nĩ makũrutwo gĩthiĩ na itinga guothe na tĩri ũrĩa wĩ igũrũ wothe ũgakuo ũguo ona ĩyo ĩkuo no bahati tũtirĩ nayo tengĩkũra.
I just have my walking stick, which I need to support myself down the hills, and the watering can. Can that be provocative to a policeman?
Supported by a walking stick and a watering can tightly held in her hands, she went back and forth through the bridges, up and down the hills in the forest, just to find a way through. Meanwhile, the police kept watch.
Wangari Maathai nĩ ndĩmũĩ kwa ihinda inene 98 no mũthenya ndingĩririkana. Hĩndĩ ĩyo nĩguo Wangari okire na andũ a university tuonaga cabi kuo no nĩ twarigagwo tũngĩthiĩ nakũ tondũ hĩndĩ ĩyo kwarĩ na thirikari na rĩu thirikari nĩ yagĩrĩire kuona mbere ya tuonete. Atukora agĩtwĩra tũke tũhande mĩtĩ tũke tũringe gũkũ Karura tũhande mĩtĩ tondũ mũtitũ wa Karura nĩ gũthira ũrathira.
This must be the turning point for the grabbing of public land and mismanaging of national resources. It is also a global concern that corruption in Africa by the leaders comes to an end and that the people demand it. That's why we are saying whether they release the names of Karura forest or not, nobody will build in Karura as long as we are alive.
Na hĩndĩ ĩrĩa Wangari okire agĩtwĩra tume tondũ mũtitũ wa Karura nĩ gũthira ũrathira. Tukiuma tukĩmũrũmĩrĩra tũgĩcaria handũ ha kũgerera tukiona handũ hena kamũgogo tukĩringia mũthuri witũ ũcio Amani nĩ aringirie Wangari akĩingĩra na akĩhanda mĩtĩ twĩ hamwe nake. Mahinda marĩa ahandire nĩ kwarigicĩirio mwena ũngĩ nĩ kwarigicĩirio nĩ thigari nyingĩ mũno cia Gigiri police station nĩ mokire na makĩrehe thĩna mũingĩ mũno.
And Maathai accused the government of protecting those he called land grabbers.
Who has grabbed this forest and who is being protected by the government? Because there are policemen all over this forest.
Not go that way. Here, go this way. Don't bring problems. No. Go as you can. Please, don't bring. We are not fighting with anybody.
After minutes of confrontation, Professor Maathai was allowed to proceed with her duty of watering the plants. All members of the press were barred from going in with her. After watering the trees to her satisfaction, she was escorted out of the forest by the inspector in charge.
They told me to stop and I just went on because all I came to do here was to water the trees. And I'm very happy we achieved that. We achieved our goal. How we got there, that's another story.
Nĩtũiguaga guoya mbere ĩyo no nĩtwarigirwo nĩtweyũmagĩrĩria tondũ professor hĩndĩ ĩrĩa okire nĩtwakenirie mũno nĩwe nĩ tondũ nĩatwĩkĩrire hinya tũkĩona kũrĩa professor agatwarwo ona ithuĩ tũkiuga tũnyitanĩre hamwe nake nĩ tondũ nĩatũmĩrĩria. Kaũndũ karĩa kamagegania njũĩ ka Wangari wa Maathai ndarĩ guoya nĩ arutaga wĩra na ũcamba na nĩ ageragia kũrũĩra bũrũri wake, tondũ nake nĩ atwĩrire tume tũnyitane guoko nĩ tondũ tũrũĩre bũrũri tondũ nĩ witũ.
My name's John Chege, Chief Scout working with the Friends of Karura. Currently, I live in Huruma Village. Huruma Village is an informal settlement adjacent to Karura Forest. This community was temporarily settled on City Council land in 1979 following the closure of the Mimosa coffee plantation estates. Several projects have been implemented within the community with the assistance of FKF and its partners. There is a biocenter which helps the community's health and sanitation, specifically in sewage removal. The conservation of Karura has brought numerous job opportunities. 26 scouts have been hired full-time by the Friends of Karura.
I do feel secure.
No, I don't have any concerns.
I can walk here freely.
It's really safe.
I think it's pretty safe.
It's very secure.
I feel very safe.
Actually, it's really safe.
Being a scout, to me, it's a good job, it's a good title. Passion for environment drives my work ethics. We have around 26 scouts. If a visitor comes and wants to be escorted in the forest, you take escorts. There is a security fence which surrounds us. If it was not the security fence, the far we've gone, we could not have achieved. We do have regular patrols on a daily basis.
In the patrol of the fence and the forest, we use motorbikes. Motorbikes are faster. They can be able to move along the trails. The fence is patrolled by our scouts. We got very kind donors. One major donor is East African Breweries, who donated 8 million for the fencing of the main block. We are spending 100,000 every month to maintain the fence, which is expensive. Karura is now safe. Those bad days of Karura are long gone.
Environment conservation has already entered in my veins. So even if any other change of job comes, I won't let this go. Making sure the environment we are talking about, it's clean, it's safe, and it's presentable to people.
Trees in the forest actually consume carbon and give us oxygen. And that's a very important social benefit to human survival and human life.
We feel privileged to live next to this amazing forest.
I'm happy I'm a neighbor to Karura Forest.
We have to leave something for the future generations.
There's no way we'll have what we have in the future if we don't conserve what we have right now.
It's actually a treasure.
Fantastic to have this paradise back, especially in Nairobi, to have a green space like this to have for recreation. I think it's very important to take care of a place like this.
When we coexist in an environment that supports our lives, our living becomes better.
My name is Karanja Joroge. I'm the chairman of the Friends of Karura Forest, the community forest association for Karura Forest. The socio-economic benefits of forests are many, but one clear one is that forests, for a city like this one, it's a major source of our oxygen. It supports the catchment of our waters. When the rain falls, it is captured by forest ecosystems that become water catchment areas.
To be not too technical about it, for me, a forest is any place where if I walk more than 20 meters, I bump into a tree. Karura is 1,000 hectares, approximately, in two main parts. The main forest towards the north of Limuru Road is 750 hectares, and the smaller Sigiriya salient is about 250 hectares. Karura Forest is a typical ecosystem, because an ecosystem is the way in which materials move from the soil into plants, through animals and decomposers, and back to the soil.
My name is Frederick Mutisia. I am the assistant forester in Karura Forest Station. In Karura, we have several tree species, namely Mutamayo, the wild olive, Muthiga, the Kenya greenheart, Mukurwe, Muhogo, silverhawk, Mugumo. We also have exotic tree species, namely the eucalyptus.
At the moment, the invasives and the planted exotic plantations cover almost 3/4 of Karura. Only 25% is actually natural indigenous forest. And the Friends of Karura Forest, working with the Kenya Forest Service and partners, have mapped out a medium and a long-term plan for trying to reverse that ratio and to try to gradually get those patches of indigenous forest to spread out. And for that, of course, the Friends of Karura and the Kenya Forest Service need more support from the generous corporate donors that are helping secure the forest in the first place. Karura is a big sponge, and when it rains, it's well known that in a forested area the water percolates better and is retained more efficiently in the soil.
The 4 river systems in Karura, the Mathare River, the Gitathuro River, Karura River, and Rui Ruaka River.
So Karura is contributing positively to the diminishing and dwindling water table of Nairobi. Nairobi has very few green areas. Karura is extremely important because it's one of the largest natural forests fully within a city limit. It's one of the last remnants of this upland montane forest that has such easy access to both visitors and scientists alike.
The Karura forest is my best part.
I like the other side where there's a big open triangle that you can walk through, and also the little lakes.
I like the trees, the way they've sort of named all the trees.
I just enjoy walking. I come here to run.
It's a nice place for adventure. See, I can see there's some monkeys here.
We just came here for a picnic.
Just came to have a good time with my friends.
We are biking around in this beautiful forest, having a great time riding the beautiful trails.
My name is Chantal Mariotte. I'm a member of the board of Friends of Karura Forest, representing the Gigiri Road Residents Association. So today we are having a fundraiser for the KSPCA, which is a dog walk in the forest. This is very good exposure for Friends of Karura and for Karura Forest, because there are a lot of people here today who had no idea that Karura Forest existed.
We would like young people brought in here, particularly schools, to come and enjoy the serenity of that forest so that they can have value for the conservation of forests around Kenya.
I'm Lucy Njoka, the Environmental Education Officer at the Karura Forest Environmental Education Trust. My main job is to teach children who visit Karura Forest the importance of forests and environments and its conservation.
Patience, luck, and not bad photography. There's porcupines, there's ground squirrels, there's bush babies, the Grimm's duiker, the little grey one, and one that's called Harvey's duiker, just by chance, the large red one. There's bushbuck, which are very common throughout this zone in Kenya. They're now coming back because for many, many years they've been snared and trapped in Karura. So gradually, the species will learn, and because they're not being preyed upon, we'll get a good complement.
You have people who come here to play football, play tennis. We have weddings, we have company parties, we have birthdays. Well, why should you organize your event in Karura Forest? Well, because Karura Forest is unique. And it's unique in the world because there are very, very few places where you have a natural forest in the middle of a capital city. Kenya is famous for its natural beauty. And having your event in Karura means you will be in this majestic, tranquil, cool place where your event will be all the more memorable and will be truly Kenyan.
Our prayer and our hope was Kenyans to start ownership of their own facilities. And now we've seen a great change because Kenyans have already started accepting that this is their facility, they need to conserve it, they need to utilize and to use it. And we've been telling them that this is your forest, and if you people, you don't have ownership on it, it won't succeed.
I think education's a great idea. Bring school children here with a guide.
I'd suggest that we try and make the area more pristine. We have too many vehicles coming in.
At least there's a fee we pay, and at least with that money, it's kind of going back to do something.
It can be a very major tourist point.
The billboards should be more directing.
Maybe a few benches spread around the place might be nice.
Many more people could benefit from it. I'm still surprised that there are not more here.
It's been very, very challenging to find resources to manage, secure, and operate this forest. Friends of Karura Forest, as I said, is a conglomerate of people who are interested in the protection of Karura Forest. Through an act of parliament called the Forest Act of 2005, Kenya Forest Service is supposed to co-manage forests with the communities that live adjacent to that forest. And so, as a CFA, as a Community Forest Association, we joined Kenya Forest Service to look at a way of securing this forest. There are two things we've done. We have created a forest management plan. And two, we are signing a management agreement with Kenya Forest Service. And that enables the CFA, which is the Friends of Karura Forest, to co-manage the forest together with Kenya Forest Service. Community forest associations are not funded by the government or funded by KFS. In fact, it's an initiative by the community itself, we as citizens of this country, to come together and help us manage our resources better. Forests are a major natural resource of a country, and we need to participate as communities to make sure that the management is in line with the protection and conservation of such a resource. We want to retain the naturalness of this forest. We want to retain some serenity and tranquility of a natural forest at Karura. So that if you really want a noisy place, you can go to Uhuru Park. But if you want a quieter, more serene, pristine place to walk, you come to Karura. In order to do this, infrastructure has to be developed that protects the main conserved areas so that we can control the people who come and visit the forest. But the greatest big thing is for us to do two things: to increase the number of indigenous trees in Karura Forest and depopulate the forest with eucalyptus and other exotic trees. The other thing is our concern for environmental education and conservation education. KFIT was a Shell BP Sports Center. Shell has given us that facility to turn it into an education center. The Friends of Karura Forest, the Kenya Forest Service, and the KFIT board are trying to put together a process of rehabilitating that club, the sports club, into an education center. So we are attempting to look at schools, particularly primary schools, to bring in kids here. They can be taught about conservation, about forest ecology, about trees and naming the trees, so that they can have value for protection of our forests.
Karura Forest helped my parents with firewood. With that firewood we cannot cook. For me, I said Karura Forest is better because the trees, they give us rain in Huruma.
The final thing, in order to do all this, part of that infrastructure is to build an office at the gate that will hold the offices of the CFA and the forester. Those are costs that we'll need to find resources for, and we'll appeal to corporate sector and people of goodwill to give money so that we can be able to make this resource a really attraction to the people of Nairobi.
The heart of Karura. I guess you'd have to say the heart of Karura's energy. We were talking earlier about how ecosystems function. They're driven by the energy of the sun. But there's also a new energy in Karura that we're starting to see, and that's the incredible energy of the people who are coming to visit it. You can feel it. You go into Karura on the weekend and there's families with kids, there's people running. Again, we have to keep that in low impact, but the fact that human energy is also running gentle, light footprint threads through the Karura means that the Karura can be sustained.
In 10 years' time, I see myself in a greater and a better position Karura Forest is going to be one of the world-class, conserved and best forests. So many people will be longing dearly to visit.
Ũndũ ũrĩa ingĩenda kwĩra arĩa mokaga gũcera mũtitũ-inĩ wa Karura kana matarĩ moka no ndĩmere me karibu na moke mahande mĩtĩ nĩ tondũ mũtĩ nĩ mĩega, mĩtĩ nĩguo muoyo. Mahinda marĩa mahanda mĩtĩ nĩ megũteithia ciana ikuo nĩ tondũ mũtĩ nĩguo tũheaga rĩera rĩega. Mũndũ wothe wĩna handũ angĩhanda na njũre mũndũ wothe wĩna handũ angĩhanda mĩtĩ onake ahande mũtĩ hau arĩ.
Karura is not only about trees, it is not only about climate change, and it is not only about a public space. It is in fact also a way through which we can look at sustainable development. You see, Karura in some ways is a microcosm of what we're talking about when we talk about the planet. It is the interaction between people, between nature. It is urbanization, and it is also ecological space. And what we are doing here in Kenya in terms of conserving the Karura forest is one step towards dealing with climate change.